I always feel so moved by how the music and the spoken parts of the service work together. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, choir. It's just so moving to me. Our speaker, Bill McClusker, is the president of Friends of the Saugatucket. And the Friends of the Saugatucket, as is said in their website, the purpose of that organization is to promote the well-being of the Saugatucket River and its watershed. I love those words, to promote the well-being of the river and its watershed. Like the Sweetgrass, it's another kind of relationship that is good for everyone. Bill came to Rhode Island as a child. It's always something, how do people get here, right? You remember, you were 6 kids, right? 7, oh, so it was 6 siblings, right? And they would come in their vehicle and unload and camp. So he's been coming here for a long time. Moved here permanently in 1980. And when Bill moved here as a younger man, he had jobs. He worked for wastewater treatment and also the Streets and Highways Department. And when he told me that, I was struck by, wow, he's the right guy to have this job. Look at this background. I mean, really very, coming from a lot of different kinds of understanding. Now in retirement, his focus is to giving back to the community. I would say your jobs gave back to the community as well, but I won't argue with you. And every time I called him, because we've been talking over the last few weeks, he was coming in from the river, he was adjusting the herring ladders, he was pulling logs out of the river because they had floated down. So always in action. Bill is a member of the Charlestown Land Trust. His wife, Elise, is actually on the board. And his wife, Elise, is on the board of the South Kingstown Land Trust. So they have us covered. And Bill is going to describe the work now of the current water and land projects that he's involved with. And he'll share more about the kayak launch, the herring ladders, the river walk, and a remembrance of Dorothy Devine. Bill?
Good morning, and thank you for having me here. Can we hear me fine? Okay.
Yes, and you're...
Okay. So as I came before here this morning, I walked down to the dam, as I do a lot of times, to check things out. There's certain things I look for. And as I walked down the slope, I thought, what if I slipped and fell like I've done before, and I'd come here covered in mud? But that's the life of a steward of the river, is to look and play and do the part. And usually we wear different shoes and hats when we do things. And with our group, it's usually a nice pair of shoes or a pair of waders, whatever it takes to get ourselves where we need to be in the river. So 53 years ago yesterday was the first Earth Day. It was the first time that we had a movement to become stewards of the river. The first time that our town and our focus on our town and the environmental parts of our town. It's the beginning of stopping using our river as a place to dump things, because that's what really happened. On Main Street in Wakefield, there was a series of automobile repair places that their tires would just be thrown off the bank into the river. In fact, we're still pulling them out of there now that have big, gigantic white walls on them. It was the beginning of the end of not seeing the river turn the colors that the mills would be dying, because if you lived here long enough, you would remember that. If the mill was dying purple, the river would actually look purple. And that was the beginning of the end of that. It was the beginning of the awareness of that this planet belongs to everybody and we're responsible for it. It was the beginning of understanding it was time to open the door for migratory fish that came here forever. That we shut the doors on when we built dams to allow them to come through by building fish ladders. So it was the beginning of the stewardship process that we're carrying on today. And in the 70s, it's the first time in memory South Kingstown had a cleanup on their river. And the things that they pulled out, cars, and they pulled out everything that you can imagine, was unbelievable. But moving forward to the 1990s, in 1994, a watershed group was formed, the Saugatucket River Heritage Coalition, and it was run by our own Dorothy Devine. She was the president from 96 to 2002, and she was a true steward of that river. I had an opportunity to meet Dorothy when we started this group many times in her house, and she gave us all sorts of archived information of her group and what they did. She advocated, and her group, you know, I'm just one of many people, advocated for the Rose Hill Transfer Station, the Superfund site, to be cleaned up, because all that leached in the Mitchell Brook, which dumps into the Saugatucket River. And without that work done, we would still be having the disaster that would have caused. She was advocated for the river walk, to bring people down to the river, to actually not turn our backs to the river, but to actually look into it and to see the herring migrate, see the cormorants eat, see the fish that are in there, to prove that people were alive, and the outdoor classroom that's over by the old Wakefield Elementary School that's getting used constantly. So because of that, our group will be presenting a plaque in memory of Dorothy on the river sometime this spring. And it's up to the Parks Department to help us determine where it is. So when people walk there, they're going to read someone's name and read about what they did. Moving forward from that, in 2010, Bill McClusker, a UPS driver, was leaning on the dam at the Main Street Dam where the fish ladder is, and realizing the herring weren't figuring out how to go up because there was a poor design with that fish ladder, and that whole area has decayed. And after trying to communicate with lots of people to get things to change, he decided, heck, I'm going to do it myself. And he took a gigantic plank and he sat it down onto the dam, and he got a big net and he scooped the fish up and he kept throwing them over. He was the true steward. In fact, I worked for the town at the time in my big town truck and my big town vest. I looked at him and I said, hey, I want to do that. So after work, I did that, and a lot of other people did that, and it brought a community of stewards together to help draw attention, which eventually the state, through the help of the wonderful Nature Conservancy, paid to have that fish ladder redesigned. And now the fish are moving through that with ease, and thanks to the steward of Bill McClusker. Once he moved on, in 2020, Friends of the Saugatucket became a nonprofit and worked with the River Herring Collective, which was Bill's group. We worked very tightly together. We moved our focuses over to the fish ladder over here that at high flows was inefficient. And we did it again. We put on our waders and we got our nets, and we got an army of volunteers to bucket brigade herring from one point to the other so they can make their way to their migration. It was an amazing thing. And because of the attention that it drew, again with the wonderful Nature Conservancy and DEM, they just readjusted all the baffles to see if the fish can make it through. And they seem to be making it through this year really, really well. They're moving through as we speak. In fact, so much attention was drawn to there that they put in a tracking system so they can track and see how fast the fish move. All because volunteers got together, advocated for the river, and drew attention to what's going on. Those are the true stewards. We're just one of a history full of them in our town, and we're fortunate to have that. So anyway, I gotta turn my page. So we talked about the stewards. There's yesterday's stewards, and I don't mean many, many years ago, but yesterday. Yesterday was Earth Day. We had a huge cleanup. We picked up tons of trash off the streets and out of the river of South Kingstown. From West Kingston to Green Hill to Matunic to Peacedale, all over South Kingstown. We had groups like Ocean Recovery Community Alliance who did a cleanup down the beach. They do cleanups all the time along our coastline, and they're a wonderful group. They generate tons of volunteers. URI and South Kingstown High School students did cleanups on their campuses. The South Kingstown Land Trust did cleanups on their properties along roads. The South Kingstown 300th Anniversary Committee helped tie us all together. The Parks Department was out there. Dennis Moffett Painting, Arnold Lumber, and this sounds like an advertisement, Tunic Oyster Bar, but they got volunteers out to help clean up yesterday. Friends of the Saugatucket, every one of us. And boy, if you go on and follow us on social media, you can see some really dirty looking people because they were covered up in pond muck. But it was you. It was the Unitarian Church that had so many people out. And Kersey Road, which is an extremely difficult road to clean because of the traffic protection, you were able to get out there and clean what I consider to be a tough eyesore in Peacedale area. And North Road, which is tough. These are lanes that go to the transfer station, and it always gets littered. So if it wasn't for people like you, it wouldn't have been as much of a success as it was. We had the kayaks in the river, and I'm telling you, my wife was covered with stuff. She's pulled out alternators and tracker cones and plastics. We also advocate for the bottle bill, so we can sit, and there's a hearing this Wednesday, so we can see if we can try to find a new way to reduce trash. We're all stewards, and as I said, we all wear many hats. And between the work with the Land Trust of Land Preservation and protecting the water, these are key things, because this is what we are, and this is what makes our community good. So the future of stewardship is education for young people to understand and appreciate what we're doing. Motivate the public. We sit at River Fire every Thursday night during the summertime to educate. We catch fish, put them in aquariums, release them after, so kids can see that the river is alive. We got to teach to love and respect and never forget that the river is alive and that every creature depends on us to just let them exist. We don't have to control and monitor control everything with the environment. We got to let it exist and let it be. We have to learn from our past, we have to live in the present, and we have to look forward to the future, all around us. And that's what it is. Take the opportunities to go out and see the herring that are here, between the ladder over here, and you really got to look hard, because they're meant to blend in, and follow the ospreys. See, bask in the fact that we have bald eagles from time to time that hover out just in this area here. I mean, we're seeing positive changes, and it's because people make the effort and they take the time to be involved. And for that, I'm thankful. And thank you for having me.
Thank you.